off.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Nobody there online with us yet. I'm here with Rojo, and Joe is here. And the special treat is that Nilesh is here with us from roundabouts Atlanta somewhere. And some of you know Nilesh because he's online with us regularly. And nobody there yet. Is it showing up there online yet, Rojo? Are you looking or are you looking?
It's not there yet.
It's not there yet. It's supposed to be online.
There it is. That's there.
There it is. And so we are officially online. And there are 4 people. Zhao is there. And I always have trouble pronouncing Zhao. You told me how one time, and I'm still working at it. And hi. And say hi to Nilesh and Joe and Rojo. And Rojo is logged in over on the couch over there and says hi. Hi, Roseanne. Roseanne is, hi, good evening, Eileen. Saturday night. You're here for Saturday Night Live. Hi, Scott. It's Saturday Night Live. Don't. So, and I also, let me turn that off there. I also brought along with me our friend Swami Rama in printed form. And this is a little piece out of the book on Sadhana. This is, Rojo says Saturday Night Live. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. Somebody else popped up. Party! Hi, Scott. Scott is here for the party. Nilesh brought some, I don't know what you call it, but a really tasty treat, a sweet that his wife made. You needed to get one of those, Joe.
I'm sure it's got some ghee inside.
It seems pretty sattvic. You should have one.
I do?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, I guess, you know.
It's in there waiting for you.
It's calling my name.
It's calling you. It's sitting there saying, Joe.
Sure.
Oh, samskara of Joe.
Yeah, just leave it.
I was on the floor.
Yeah, it fell.
Wires hanging around on the floor. Joe is on his way to get the treat. Hi, Raj. And Hashim is up in the middle of the night. Guten Morgen, Hashim. And hi, Anjan. And Marydell. Boy, Europe is up tonight. You guys are up having a party at night. Hi, B. All righty. What are those little symbols, Rojo? Little
Kitties.
Those are kitties.
Is that it?
That's one. Yeah, take one of those.
Yeah.
This section here is called Practice Systematically, Step by Step. There it is. Practice systematically, step by step. Patanjali begins the second pada. We went through this morning in the Yoga Sutras thing. Begins the second pada with a very practical method that helps to gain control of the mind and its modifications. He has beautifully described it. Here, it's one of the sutras. Tapas, Svadhyaya, Ishvara, Prana, Dana, Kriya, Yoga. Now, I need to tell you here, I did not plan this like this. This was not scheduled. This just happened. I did not plan to do that subject this morning and then do this. Pretty good, huh? And then he got 2 of them. How did you get a quota of 2?
Because I know that I'll want another one right after.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Anyway, but I did not plan this ahead, and so it was but it's kind of fun, isn't it? How there's a Guten Morgen. how that happened like that. Same subject. And so this will be fun to see how Swami Rama talks about this. He has beautifully described it. Swamiji is talking about Patanjali. Has beautifully described, I think it's Sutra 3 of Chapter 2. Tapas Vadhyaya Ishvara Pranadhana Kriya Yoga. Here he is introducing Kriya Yoga, which encompasses 3 basic principles. Tapas, control of the senses. Svadhyaya, study of the self. And Ishvara Pranadhana, surrender to the Lord within. Kriya Yoga, or preliminary yoga, is practical yoga. He refers to it as preliminary yoga. Some people say Kriya Yoga is not preliminary, it's the advanced. It's the premier. But who cares? Whatever it is, let's do it. Since it is not possible to immediately gain control of the mind and its thinking process, your emotional life and all your desires and appetites of the primitive fountains, Joe's proving that to us, since that's not possible, you will have to practice systematically, step by step. The first step is tapas. Tapas means to know how to control the senses. How to control the senses. Nicely synchronized, says Raj. Yes. Well, I of course planned it that way because I'm so synchronous, and I should have played it that way before instead of being honest from the beginning, Raj. Tapas means to know how to control the senses. If you do not have control of the senses, the data the senses collect from the external world will not be clear, and the mind will not be able to decide, judge, or function properly. Now, this is reminding me that the 4th yama, now remember, this is in the niyamas, the 2nd of the 8 rungs. The 4th of the yamas in rung 1 is the yamas, and the 4th one of those is brahmacharya. This is a sutra that is so widely misunderstood. If you hold in context the 4th yama, which is brahmacharya, if you hold that in context with tapas and how to control the senses, you'll see a beautiful synergy between those 2 principles. If you think that brahmacharya, if you just read a lot of the translations that are very surface level translations of brahmacharya, you interpret it and say, well, it means don't have sex. I get emails from young people who are at the point in life where it's natural to have an active sexual life. But instead of pondering, how do I live a healthy sexual life in a committed relationship, instead of wondering, how do I pull that off, the person writes to a Swami like me and says, how do I give up the sex drive? You're 25 years old and I'm tempted to be humorous here and
give it a shot.
I'm not gonna go there, Joe. I'll get in trouble if I go there.
I wouldn't tell them about it.
I was a yogi when I was in my teens and 20s, and I'll say it like this: it would have been not possible for me to follow the path of renunciation at that point in my life. It simply would not have been possible.
You were highly in demand.
Yeah, well, I wasn't highly, but playfully, I sometimes say I wasn't always a monk. I was in those age brackets in the 1960s. In the 1960s, in the U.S., was known as the sexual revolution, amongst other things. Anyway,
you're a revolutionary,
and I'm a revolutionary, and so. But the point I'm making here, to pause and go back, is that brahmacharya means, go look at it, it means to be in constant awareness of Brahman. the one absolute non-dual reality. It means cultivating that awareness. And if we are attempting to cultivate that awareness, then when it comes to trying to live the tapas, the training the senses in the next step, then you find that those two work together. I'm being aware of Brahman pretty much all the time, cultivating that awareness. And it's all of the sensory input, including food, not just sex. And smelling, tasting, seeing, touching, and here. We just love a sensory explosion. And sitting at home every night watching the television 6 hours a day. I think some of the researchers say that average American watch 4, 5, 6 hours of television a day. It's a huge number. And so this is getting lost in the sensory experiences and food and all of that. It's not just a rule that says don't have sex. You think that was written for Catholic priests who are not permitted to get married and are supposed to be celibate.
They're doing really well.
And Joe made a joke there. And unfortunately, these young men are not trained in how to do this. And so we end up with some sort of disastrous situations. But anyway, so the spirit of brahmacharya is not don't have sex. The spirit of it is remember truth or reality or divinity or consciousness or God, if you like the God word. Whatever we think of it as being our place mark holder for that whole that. And then when we come over here and do tapas, we see they go together. They beautifully, beautifully go together. Swamiji says, if you do not have control of the senses, the data the senses collect from the external world will not be clear, and the mind will not be able to decide, judge, or function properly. Throughout the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali repeatedly stresses the importance of understanding the nature of the senses and how they dissipate the power of the mind by distracting the mind from the purpose of life and drawing it outward to the charms and temptations of the external world. Now, you have to train your mind not to follow the senses, but instead to go within to the deeper levels of your being. When you know how to control and guide the senses, the objects of the senses will no longer have the power to sway you. Then you will be able to perceive the true nature of the objects of the world. You will better understand the nature of your mind and will be able to concentrate the energy of your mind and channel that energy inward. Tapas means to control the senses so that they do not dissipate the energy of the mind. Very common to say, well, how do I turn my mind inward? How do I make my mind one-pointed? How do I get rid of these thoughts so that I can go into samadhi? I want to read another book that will describe samadhi to me. Very common. And this that we're talking about here is preliminary. We simply cannot do the samadhi or the deep meditation or the pratyahara until we have done things like the brahmacharya, the awareness of self, and we have done the tapas, the training of the senses. I'm gonna reveal a dark secret about Rojo.
Sure, yeah.
Training the senses. I mean this humorously. It's not a complaint. She's waving at me from laying over on the couch. Now she's got her tongue sticking out and her thumb is like this, and she's doing this to me. If you tell me to not do it, I will honor it and not do it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, she said. Okay, we were walking earlier, and suddenly she had this old urge. She acknowledged that it was an old samskara, an old desire, and it came up. And she said she wanted to go to the Dunkin' Donuts and get a donut.
Free.
And it was a free donut because today is a national holiday in the United States that acknowledges the service of military people. And that's what she's a doctor in the military.
Free one for you too?
No, they don't have free donuts for monks. We're not on the list.
You've been putting up with her. You deserve something.
I deserve something, yeah.
Wait a second.
But anyway, she said, I want a donut. Now, me being the yogi, I asked her very carefully. I said, now, are you telling me that you are assessing your samskara field and that your samskara has a desire? You're just giving me a piece of factual information that inside there is a desire for a donut, but that you're not going to fulfill that desire? Or does the statement, I want a donut, literally mean you want to walk down the street, walk into the door of the Dunkin' Donuts?
She pushed you out of the way and went straight for the
Just
donut.
about. She was about to block me, but she made it clear that she really meant
Wants it.
it was not just merely a statement of Klishta-vrittis. She wanted a donut.
I have only one question.
Celebrated.
What kind of donut did she have?
She wanted an all chocolate donut, but they didn't have the kind she wanted. So she got a regular basic donut that was covered with a chocolate thing on the top.
And how many donuts did she have?
She had one. Now,
That's
to her
it?
credit, this was the wisdom.
This is like more difficult than not having one at all.
I don't know, but I'm just saying that she did it. And so there's obviously a degree of training the senses. It was not complete loss of control.
Yeah,
She did not buy a dozen
senses,
donuts.
Maybe I should train my senses too.
Yeah, work on it, Joel.
I mean, listen.
The Dunkin' Donuts, you can be back in 10 minutes. You can go get go get yourself a
At
donut.
this time of night, they usually give you free ones because they're trying to close up shop.
What do you
and
mean
get rid
give
of
me
extra
free
ones.
ones?
Sometimes when they have leftover donuts for the day, apparently they discount them or give them free, huh?
Yeah.
You could go with Joe.
So how do you know that?
Yeah, how do you know this?
My parents like to get 6 or 12 donuts at a time, and sometimes they'll show up.
So see, there's a family history of donut addiction.
They're professional donut eaters.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the world we live in. And so we live in a world of donuts and things out there. So I'm saying that playfully about what Rojo did. It's not a complaint. I'm not picking on Rojo. It's just she's here, and it's a wonderful, fun, playful little story. And it just happened today, and it relates. So I told you the story.
That's my birthday this month.
And this is her birthday month. That's another rationale she just now said. First time she said that today.
So
This
you
is
get 2 donuts, one for your birthday, one paid.
no, that she'll use that one in a couple of weeks. She'll use that excuse again.
Okay.
It's coming. She's setting the stage for it. But who knows? We'll all just have to
She's
see what happens.
Cultivating her some scars.
She is cultivating her samskaras, but she's doing it with awareness. Even though, wait a minute, in your current state of mind, you do not know why you move the way you move, why you think the way you think, why you speak the way you speak, or why you act the way you act. And every one of those is one of the indriyas. The karmendriyas or the jnanendriyas. Even though you are not aware of it, you do not make a single gesture or movement without mental effort. Although some of your actions and gestures are conscious, most of them are unconscious. See, Rojo was conscious today about the donut thing. Really was. She told me about it long before she got the donut. At least 5 minutes before she got the donut. Could have been 10.
How fast did she walk towards the donuts?
She was doing a pretty good clip.
I had
For
to have
in-
a few hours previously when I was looking up where the free deals were.
She was sitting on her phone looking up free deals.
Oh, she'd been contemplating the process.
She had been pondering.
Premeditated.
Donut consumption. For instance, and then she said, no, I'm not going to go there. For instance,
Getting better.
although some of your actions and gestures are conscious, most of them are unconscious. For instance, sometimes you behave badly and later on you repent.
Not really.
You know you have acted foolishly and that you should not have behaved in such a manner. Is that true, Rojo? No, I'm just
I'll
playing.
tell you tomorrow when I check the tightness of my clothes.
But you do not know why you did it. Before you do anything, you should be aware of what you are going to do and of all the consequences of doing it. Then, if you still want to do it and are prepared to accept the consequences, go ahead.
Do it.
And that is exactly what she did today. I mean, I really mean that. That's why I knew it was okay to tell this story, but I asked her permission, and she initially said, grumbled, but then she said, no, go ahead, with gesture of the hand.
That's
So-
not passing by liquor store.
So what she did was a perfect example of this principle. When you start to tread the path and begin to study your internal states, you may find it very difficult because you have never faced yourself as you really are. Now, the fact that we're going through this together and we're reading this together and we're interested in this in some sense, now this is me speaking, in some sense, this sentence does not apply to any of us that are here together right now doing this. And I really mean that. Because it said, when you start to tread the path, begin to study, you may find it difficult because you have never faced yourself as you really are. I know that everybody in this gathering has done some efforts to face yourself. So it doesn't totally apply to us. He's not really speaking to us who are doing this. That's why we're sitting here doing this and having this conversation. It's easy to criticize others and see what is not good in them, but you prefer not to know your own imperfections. Now, I think that's probably true for all of us. I think we don't want to know about what's imperfect because of a strong ego or a sense of I-ness. Even though you may want to improve, you are afraid to know your own weaknesses. Seems to be some truth in that, doesn't there? You think it isn't possible for you to improve, so you go along with the current wave of knowing everything that appears to be fascinating. We get caught in the world, don't we? You are not aware that the faculty of mind that wants to know everything in the external world can also lead you to that height where you can know the reality. We may not be aware of that. We can use this incredible mental apparatus we have to go either direction, to go out into the craziness of the world or to go inward. If you have not known the reality, it is of no use to know anything else. It is like collecting junk and putting it in the basement. You are just creating more problems for yourself. That would have been Rojo if after that one donut she had to go back and get a few more. Or if in talking about it right now, she did grab Joe by the hand and say, come, Joe, let's go get donuts.
I know she's thinking about.
She's probably thinking about it. And I think
was
she's
thinking about all the donuts I've turned down from our weekly donut man.
Yeah, now she just said she's thinking about all the donuts she's turned down from the weekly donut man. In her medical clinic, now this is a clinic filled with doctors and dentists and psychologists and physician's assistants and nurses and techs. It's a medical place. And there's it's a doctor, isn't it?
Pharmacist.
It's the pharmacist.
He knows where the crack is.
He knows where the crack is. He knows where this is the pharmacist, the drug dealer in the clinic. Goes out every Friday and buys a whole bunch of donuts. How many does he buy? A couple dozen?
3,000.
I think he buys like 6 boxes or 7 boxes and distributes them throughout the entire.
He buys like 6 or 7 boxes, and there's a dozen in each one, and walks around and distributes them to everybody.
He's killing them slowly.
And he's killing them slowly, maybe so that they will have to come back and get more drugs from his pharmacy. And he's probably made an agreement with some of the doctors. They can prescribe the pills, and he can give them the pills to manage their illnesses coming from all the donuts.
He's trying to spread joy and cheer.
No, he's trying to spread joy. Apparently, from what Rojo has told me before about this guy, he's really, personality-wise, a very nice fella. He's trying. He's very sweet. He's trying to be nice to people.
Because he's feeding people donuts.
So he's feeding
He's
people
sweet.
donuts. But the point she was just making a moment ago is something like, you don't know how many times I've turned down donuts. And I know she has, because it's not uncommon that she will tell me on a Saturday that the donut man came around again on Friday. And she'll say, not with an egotistical pride, but just a simple awareness. I'll say, did you eat any? And she'll say, no, she didn't have any.
But he keeps offering you donuts.
Well, he's offering everybody donuts.
So there's a box sitting there and calling her Rojo.
Yeah, and she's being a good yogi.
I've walked by that room many times and looked and saw the temptation on the table.
Walked by the room many times and saw them on the table and did not eat them.
I just looked and just kept walking.
And so this is life. This is the world we live in. We all have our own versions of that story. It's such as she's a doctor and is a yogi, and here is this thing.
Like a married man working in an office full of women.
A married man working in an office where the women. Is that the voice of experience? Wink, wink. Anyway, but we all have our different versions of living in the world. So there's a principle here, and Rojo is allowing us to play with this. Swami Rama says it's like collecting junk and putting it in the basement. You are just creating more problems for yourself. Those who remain on the thinking level do not get the opportunity to see what they are within. You are not as small as you think you are. There are many other glorious and wonderful levels within you. When you understand your thinking process and can go beyond it to the unconscious mind, you will discover that the world within is far superior to the external world. Svadhyaya will help you to encounter both the superficial complexes and the deeper potentials within you. You can discover the bitter and the sweet, so to speak. Without self-study, enlightenment is not possible.
Life is not only about no.
Life is not only about no. There's the wisdom of Rojo. Without self-study, Svadhyaya, enlightenment is not possible. Now, we may disagree with that and may say, I'm not going to do this self-study business. I have a guru who told me that he's going to do all my stuff for me. I don't even have to sit for meditation anymore. I'm sorry to tell you this. I have firsthand knowledge of people doing exactly this in the world. I have seen some people that I care deeply for fall into this trap and believe they don't have to do any more self-study, introspection, because now I have a guru and this man told me I don't have to do any of this anymore.
We're lazy. We believe it.
Yeah, good comment. Yeah, we're lazy. And so we want to believe it. But I think it's not true. From what I've seen and know, what Swami Rama just said here is accurate. And it's not because Swami Rama says it, so therefore I'm quoting and I'm saying, believe me. It's a sentence. We all get to decide, does this sound reasonable to me, or does this sound like bull and I'm going to go off and find another path? Well, that's okay. Here it is again. Without self-study, which is the Svadhyaya, enlightenment is not possible. I will admit this is a very strong sentence, but I think it's accurate. Ishvara Pranadhana, self-surrender, is one of the highest ways to live and leads to the height of self-realization. In the city of life, there is someone sleeping who is called Ishvara or Purusha, the center of consciousness, from where consciousness flows on various degrees and grades. Isha means the one who directly controls your life. Your whole being belongs to this center of consciousness. Whatever you find here, there, and everywhere, within and without, is governed by the great power commonly called God or Ishvara, who dwells within you, or it's the center of consciousness, as he just said. Because of ego, you do not know this center is within you. Ego is helpful in that it makes you aware of your own body and your own self, little s self. And it helps you to know what is you and what is not you. But ego is not interested in the law of life, that there is one unity in diversity. Ego does not want to know that there is oneness, that there is one unity in diversity. Ego claims to be the proprietor of the body, when actually it is only a representative of the reality. It creates a wall between you and the reality, the center of consciousness within. This separation from the reality is the root cause of all misery. And again, we can ponder this. Does this make sense to me and my intelligence, or does this not make sense to me? It doesn't matter what Swami Rama says or Swami Jay says or any of these books or anything. None of that matters. Ultimately, what matters is what sounds accurate to me in my best intuition. And whatever sounds right to me in my best intuition, follow that and practice it to the best of our ability. And then the principle is, it's been often said, if we're doing that and we get in trouble, help will come. Help will come. The body can be compared to a workshop. In that workshop, ego claims to be the proprietor. Mind is the manager and the senses are the workers. In this arrangement, ego is aware of two things, I and mine. This is false identification. The proprietor of this whole property is the center of consciousness. You have to make ego aware that there is someone higher who is the real proprietor. And note here that that higher power is not external to me, it's internal. Because of your lack of awareness of the center of consciousness within, excuse me, whatever you do is actually for the satisfaction of your ego. All your acts of worship and the so-called loves and attachments in your life are just for your ego. In order to help yourself, you will have to surrender your mere self, little s self, or ego, before the real self, the capital S self, the Lord within you. This does not mean you have to renounce your ego. Self-surrender does not mean you should surrender your real self, capital S self, before the world or anyone else. Rather, you have to surrender the little self that is imitating the proprietor before the reality. You have to let ego become aware of the reality. As long as ego is not aware of another existence that is higher than it, it will continue to grow stronger and stronger. Ego can become a means for enlightenment only if you make it aware that it is only a representative of the reality. And yeah, job security, Meridel says. Hey, that's cute. There is only one power within and without that governs you and the universe. And that power is Isha, or Purusha, pure consciousness. Purusha is sleeping in the city of life. Purusha has the root Pura, which is city, city of life. It's Atman living in the city of life. Purusha is sleeping in the city of life, deeply seated in the tomb of the body, like a hidden jewel in a coal mine. Purusha is not at all affected by this world. One of the Upanishads beautifully explains it this way. In the tree of life, there are two birds. This is in Mundak, I think. One is eating the fruits of the tree of life. Sometimes it is enjoying, but at other times it is suffering and weeping. The other bird is only witnessing and is not affected. It's a simple metaphor so we can remember two birds, and then we get to decide, which life do I want to predominantly live? Which bird do I want to emulate? It is the ego that is enjoying the fruits. You keep trying to satisfy the ego again and again. Ego keeps saying, this is mine and this is mine. This is all me. I am everything. This body is mine and the senses and mind are mine. All the objects of the world are mine for sensual pleasure. That is why ego continues to suffer. Oh my, oh my. Purusha is only witnessing and therefore does not suffer. Purusha is not involved in what is going on in the world, though it seems to be. And thus I'm remembering that metaphor where I often talk about that we are like a cell phone. Who am I in the cell phone? I am the electricity. The electricity itself is not affected by what the program says or what apps we're running on the phone or the computer. The electricity is pure. The Purusha is pure. Suppose you place 100 transparent glass jars full of water outside on a sunny day. When you look into the jars, it appears that the sun is inside the jars, but it is not actually there. The sun is not at all involved with the jars. One who is suffering on account of ignorance sees 100 suns inside the jars, but Purusha does not. One who has attained the highest reality understands the difference between the seer and the seen, or the object and the one who is witnessing the object. Very important principle. We can practice this. We literally can practice this. I am sitting here seeing Nilesh, and I am sitting here seeing Joe, and I'm seeing Roho over there. They are the seen. Now, which aspect of me am I going to ponder as being the seer? Me, the ego, Swami J, and say, I'm sitting over here in this body and I'm me and you guys are over there? Or am I going to use this wisdom to attempt to be aware of the Purusha, of the consciousness that's operating outward through these instruments and identities and indriyas, so that I can see them out there? We can cultivate one or the other. We can cultivate the awareness of the seer while still living in the world in an ego. And then the ego is our friend and our helper. For one who has attained, it is immaterial whether the object is there or not. But those who have not attained will continue to suffer as long as they have a feeling of individualization and identity and identify with the objects of the world, mind. You will have to make sincere efforts and go through certain spiritual disciplines if you want to become aware of that force within you. You will have to dig down deep, and your face may get dirty in the process. In many of the great mantras, there is one word, Namaha, which means, O Lord, nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to thee. Namaha. With this wisdom, you can live in the world and enjoy every breath of life. Until now, you have been living in a state of confusion. You study listen to this, you study the Yoga Sutras and decide you want to be a yogi. Therefore, you think you should no longer eat food, drink, or make love. In essence, you think you should not live. Patanjali does not say that everyone should become a monk. Whether you want to become a monk or you want to remain in worldly life, If you practice these 3 principles in your daily life, they will help you. Always remember the first aphorism of the second pada. Tapas Svadhyaya Isvara Pranadana. The whole thing says Tapas Svadhyaya Isvara Pranadana Kriya Yoga. So it really, really is useful to remember them. That's the end of this section. Pretty good stuff, isn't it?
Yep.
You're going to keep doing it, Rojo? What, she says.
Yes.
Tapas Svadhyaya Ishvara Pranadana.
Yes.
Yes, she said. Good.
Of course. I thought you meant like something from earlier.
I
No.
mean, get more going.
Anyway. So that's it. That's our Saturday night. Saturday Night Live. Tapas Svadhyaya Ishvara Pranadana Kriya Yoga. Now that we've talked about kleshas and tapas and training the senses, if you want to go get a donut, go get a donut. Or the other meaning of want to get a donut, if you want to get a donut and you're aware that somebody inside of you, a habit pattern inside, that it wants to go get a donut,
yep.
But I, the wise yogi inside, says, I think that's not useful for me and it's not going to help me, then don't go get a donut.
Tell that thing inside, go get a donut. You just say, I'm going to be here. You want to get
There was 10, 15 years ago, somebody died and I inherited a couple cars. Now the ashram has a car and a truck. But I used to ride around town only on a bicycle. It's all I had. And there was a woman around who was involved a lot in what we were doing. And she would pick me up and we would go sometimes out to the beach. There's nice beaches here. And sometimes when we would come back, there was an ice cream store along the way. And I would say to her, do you want to have an ice cream? And she would say no. And so then, a few days later, often she would find a coupon somewhere and she'd call me up and say, you want to go get an ice cream? And we'd go walk over there and get an ice cream. But when we would be in her car coming back from that beach area, I would say, do you want an ice cream? And she'd say no. And finally, one day, it took 2 years to get this answer out of her mouth. I'm not making this up. This literally happened. One day we were coming back into town. We had just crossed the bridge, for those of you who know this area, back off the beaches and into town. And I said, you want to go get an ice cream? And came out of her mouth was, yes, but I'm not going to do it. And my hands went up in the air like this. I said, finally, you understand why I've been asking you this. Because this time she was answering by acknowledging, of course, in my unconscious mind, of course I want to have an ice cream. The real answer was, I always want to eat ice cream. That was the real honest answer. She said, but I'm going to choose to not do it. For whatever reason, not good for me, not healthy.
A long time not to want to not be right.
And so I'm saying this not to be complaining about a person who's not in this conversation right now, but it's a story, and this is what we've got. We build up stories and make little examples. And it was the principle that for 2 years she was telling me she did not want an ice cream, and what that actually meant was she was not going to have one today. But she did not have the conscious awareness of her unconscious mind and could not bring herself to give a complete straight answer. And 2 years later, finally one day, she did. She got it. She understood it. And she said, she understood that. And then when I said, finally, then, and we talked about it, then she understood what I had been waiting for 2 years. And she acknowledged at the time that she had overlooked it. She had missed the point of that whole game. But this is something that we all have to go through. This is the introspection. This is the svadhyaya. We want to explore our unconscious process. Then we can be aware of what Rojo was doing today. Because when I asked her which way she meant one, she knew both of them. She knew that what she was doing was talking about her field of karmashaya and habits. She knew that. And she also knew that even then I'm going to act on it right now, and I literally am going to go eat the donut. She knew both of them. And I knew that she knew both of them. And it's not my business anyway, but it wouldn't be my place to stand in her way and say, no, Roto, don't walk in the door of the Dunkin' Donut. Don't do it, Rojo. No. Grab her by the ankle. She's dragging me into the donut stores, but I want a donut.
Holding onto her leg and dragging her.
Yeah, no, that didn't happen. But she did that with. I watched her do it. She did it with full awareness. I know that.
And then when you have it, you enjoy it thoroughly.
And then when you have it, you enjoy it thoroughly. I think she did not enjoy this absolutely thoroughly because I think it was not actually the flavor of donut that she wanted. But it was enjoyable.
That was good enough.
It was good enough.
Close enough.
Close enough. Anyway, tapas, svadhyaya, ishvara, pranadhana, kriya, yoga.
Pranadhana, not pranadhana.
Ishvara, pranadonuts. Boy, it says something about Joe, huh? We all got his number, huh? Anyway, Saturday Night Live. Scott, yes, the example is helpful. Good. Good. That's what it's supposed to be. That's why we have these conversations. And thank you, Rojo, for allowing me to play with your donut stories. She gave me a thumbs up. It's okay. This is how we learn this stuff. We don't learn this by Sanskrit school. We just don't. This is the reason that this stuff is oral tradition. It has been for thousands of years, and it's not changing. The life comes when we have a conversation like this. The life comes to these things, not just because Swami Rama writes good words, which he does. He says this stuff extremely clearly, doesn't. But when we have a conversation and we can talk about Rojo and donuts, it really comes to life, doesn't it?
No, here's another example.
Here's another.
Concord grapes are only in season for a couple weeks out of the year.
Concord grapes are in season only a couple weeks out of the year.
So the rest of the year, the desire is still there, but it's a sleeping desire because there's nothing to fulfill it with. So the rest of the year, the desire is there, but there's no Concord grapes to fulfill it. So you just suffer. But today in the grocery store, she bought some fresh Concord grapes. So apparently now is the season.
It's like the mating season?
It's the mating season between Rojo and Concord grapes.
Well, there's an element of union.
Of course.
There's what?
An element of union involved.
There is an element of union when you consume the grapes, huh?
Now, it'd be better if I got fed the grapes.
You know, now,
This
this morning we went through the 24 gurus of Dattatreya. I don't know if you've listened to that yet. That's a great story of the 21 teachers of Dattatreya. And so we should make the 25th one of what we learned from Rojo.
Never know.
So thank you, Rojo. Thank you all for spending some Saturday night together and playing. And please have a wonderful, wonderful meditation, okay? And where are you going to find what you're looking for?
In the silence after the Om.
In the silence after the Om. There's the Ah, there's the U, there's the Om. All of this out here is Om, and this is the Purusha. And out of this Purusha, Atman Brahman, emerged somehow this whole universe, all these levels of the causal plane, the subtle plane, and the gross world out here.
All of this emerged out of that, and we follow it back in. It's the ah, the oo, and the So when it comes out, playfully said, it's called moi. See, it comes out of silence and says moi, me. That was just humor. I just invented that. I just invented that wisdom. This is moi, and this is the om. And after that is the silence. And there,
the silence looks awfully like a donut hole.
The silence looks much like a donut hole, says Joe.
The emptiness, you know.
Joe just adds this incredible wisdom, just goes straight to the heart of the matter. Sometimes in a very colorful way.
I'm looking at that. It looks like a donut instead of a question.
But now don't start telling me planet jokes.
Planet?
Planet jokes, like pointing at that circle and saying it's Uranus.
I'm not that bad.
Okay, we won't tell that joke. But anyway, this is Purusha. It comes outward and the Om goes inward. So we follow it inward. Have a nice meditation, okay? Thank you for playing. See you tomorrow if you're free. We'll have Sunday satsang and Matri will be on with me, and we have a great topic in store for you. I'm not going to tell you anything about what we're going to talk about. You're going to enjoy it. We're going to have fun, as we usually do on Sunday morning.
If I'm free, I don't have to see you tomorrow.
If I'm free.
If I'm free. Like Matri free.
Yeah. Joe's making humor. Everybody laugh. Ha ha ha. Anyway, and tomorrow afternoon, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, we will be together with Preacher Leela. And what are we going through now? Wisdom of the ancient sages? No, we're going through the Book of Wisdom. Discussion on the Ishupanishad. Pretty good stuff there too, huh? So, good night all. Rojo sent everybody a little, I think it's blew a kiss. I think that's what it is. Scott says, I see what Joe is talking about. I don't know what he's talking about. Scott understands you, Joe. Congratulations, Scott.
You must be really smart if
you must be really smart to understand Joe. And there's Hashim. Good night, Hashim. I know Hashim is now going to stay up and do a little contemplation and have a nice meditation. I know that. Hashim is a good middle of the night yogi.
You mean he's got sleeping problem?
No, he's in Germany, and so it's much later, and so he's up in the middle of the night to do this. And so I think it's like 7 hours difference or something like that.
So 3 a.m. Oh.
Hashim is very sincere about this stuff. Very sincere. Delightful man. I think you'd like him. He's very bright too. You both have bright minds.
Sick.
Maybe sick too, but I don't know. Anyway.
Good.
So see, Hashim gave us another folded hands. That's because let's not get too impressed when somebody does this, because when that happens from another person, it's really a statement of them, not of you who are supposedly on the receiving end of that.
Well, I guess.
I like Hashim. Hashim is cool. On track. Yeah. Lol. Scott says it all lol. LOL.
Laugh out loud. Laughing out loud.
But you gotta. Anyway, I'm going to push the end button here. Where's Matri? Where's Roseanne when I need her?
Push the button.
Where's Roseanne and Matri? Those two are old faithful. They always tell me, push the button. See, it says right there, I should take a picture of that. Let's see. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to take a picture of this button and post it.
in the group for all of you, so you can see that there actually is a button there. Maybe
Does that mean we can push your button?
See, I'll do this whole thing here.
Roseanne says, please.
Push the button.
And Scott says you gotta push. That's what they have on the door of the OB delivery ward. Most doors say
On the
push.
door of the obstetrics, what ward?
Delivery ward.
On the delivery ward, when they're having delivering a baby. Push. They're telling the women to push.
They just say push.
Okay, I'm trying to give birth to the next of meditation. Okay, yes, Roseanne, push the button. I'm going to push the button. There it is. Here, I know. Now I finally got the one here.
Well, you know the real story behind the scenes.
Uh-huh.
There, now I got the perfect picture. I'm going to post this one in the group. And thank you, Roseanne, for... and so good night. I'm going to push the button. Have a nice meditation. I know you will, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you, Rose.